Buy-to-let, the secrets and truths that the seminar peddlers don't want you to know. Buy-to-let has been a boom business in this country for the last probably 15, 16 years. They tell you all sorts of things in the seminars and in the books and in the courses, such as finding properties is very easy. You notice a lot of these companies will then have an associated or sister company that will help you buy off plan and avoid paying too much money, allegedly. But then you're tied in with those particular companies. You don't get any choice. This very often means you're overpaying for a property or getting a property which long term won't give you a good yield. The next one is that it's recession proof. Well, over the last 3 or 4 years, rents certainly have been going up. But as soon as there's a slowdown in the economy, rents will go the other way. And there'll be a lot more vacant properties out there, which in turn will push down the price of other properties as supply and demand always works out. They also tell you it's easy to get loans. They can help you by putting you in touch obviously with someone that's related to them in some way or shape. Very often these methods that are used are bordering on fraudulent, and many people have been prosecuted already for what they did during the early noughties with sorting out through buy-to-let courses and seminars, getting people loans on overvalued properties which were overvalued by surveyors, and mortgage lenders ended up being defrauded. They'll also tell you there's huge demand for the property that they're peddling and what they're telling you to do. The truth is, in many areas there's a huge shortage of family homes, but there isn't a shortage of flats, 1 and 2 bedroom flats to let. And lots of people who buy buy-to-lets end up buying flats and then find that they can't let them out. The next problem that you'll encounter is when you're told you never need to do any work, they'll be managed, no problem at all. With changes to legislation, European directives, etc., things like energy efficiency are becoming big business. And what that means is that all properties have to reach a certain standard on their EPC measurement by 2016. If they don't, then you won't be able to let them out and you'll be penalised. You've also got quite a lot of other red tape, such as gas safety certificates that have to be done every year. You've got to make sure the wiring is in sync. You've got to provide an EPC for new tenants. You can't overcharge them. It's getting more and more regulated. The next fallacy that I keep hearing is the returns are exceptional. I understand from reading and researching that the actual real return on the average buy-to-let is currently running at no more than 5%. And there are certain parts of the country, London for example, central London, where they can be less than 2%. You take out your letting agents' fees, you have empty periods, these can average in my experience 2 months of every year. You've got maintenance costs. And we had one buy-to-let that was let out for the first 4 months and didn't return us a penny because we kept having to put things right. There are all sorts of unseen problems that occurred, an over-demanding tenant, but we legally had to sort it out. Many of the mortgages that people take out are interest only. This is on the basis that in 30 years' time you own the property and you have to sell it on and pay it back the original loan because you've covered the interest charge. So what that's relying on is capital growth. Well, who knows where the property market's going to be in 30 years? You could end up with an asset that's crumbling and not worth what you think it is. This is another problem. The other issue you'll have is you'll need a good accountant to deal with your buy-to-let accounts, because legally you have to declare the income and you have to offset expenditure. So you do need to allow probably £500–600 per property per year for accountancy fees. And bear in mind you're going to have to pay tax, and depending on what tax threshold you're in, you might end up paying the higher rate of taxation, which is 40%. I think personally HMOs are a better bet if that's what you want to get into letting out. Their only downside is that they are heavily regulated and it is quite hard to get a licence. Certain HMOs, if they're over 2 stories as well, require all sorts of extra safety features, and you can be personally liable if anything happens, such as a fire and anyone's injured. Many companies offer courses and advice on getting into buy-to-let, and very close affiliations they tend to have with lenders and developers, allowing you to buy off plan. They make more money from selling you properties, believe it or not, than they do from selling you training. So I'd be very cautious before parting with any money on a buy-to-let course.